I, 37, took my wife, 33, on an 11th year anniversary cruise. We worked jobs that we thought were bearable, but not exactly thrilling, so this cruise was something we both really looked forward to. I wanted us to meet other people and socialize, because why not? I wasn't sure we'd be lucky enough to meet long-term friends, but at least people to chat with. Wouldn't you know it, on the first night we met a really nice couple. The wife's name was Susie. After talking and gabbing away for a while by the bar, the four of us agreed to meet the next day as well. By the pool, the husband admits he's looking for a couple to swing with. Susie is shocked he actually brought it up, and clearly doesn't agree with it. She looks sad that he wants to do such a thing. I agree with her, and tell him we aren't looking to compromise our relationship. He plays it off, saying it's not like that, but I disagreed. Susie was relieved, but my wife actually looked disappointed. I made a mental note to quiz her about it sometime. Susie and her husband started talking about all the adventures they went on together. My wife looked envious and continued staring at Susie's husband. I didn't know at the time, but she got his number. We both dressed up nice, and she came with me to the casino. She was entertained for a while, but eventually she wandered off while I played poker. She told me she'd be right back, but she didn't come back even in an hour. I left the table and started looking for her and calling her over and over. Looking for her felt like a helpless waste of time because the boat was huge. What are the chances I'd run into Susie, who was also looking for her own spouse? When we saw each other, we panicked. I suggested we both go check our staterooms and meet back here with whatever we found. She agreed, and I raced back to mine, but no one was there. When I came out, I was feeling nauseous and picturing Susie walking in on them. 2 security guards passed by me just then, looking like they were on a mission. For some reason, I got hunched to follow them. They passed by where I told Susie to meet, so I waved her over. As we followed them, she said she didn't find anything, and he still wasn't answering his phone. I told her I thought these guys might be onto something. They led us straight to the comedy club, which was currently empty, but the doors were unlocked for a show in 3 hours. They called out, "Excuse me," and I jumped. Then I noticed 2 people's heads behind a bar. They were quietly swearing, and I heard my wife apologize and ask security to hold on a moment. I covered my mouth to try to hold my face together. I couldn't believe this was happening. Susie was also in disbelief. As soon as they stepped out, I could only ask my wife what the hell was happening. Susie screamed. Security just noticed we were behind them and asked if we were a couple. We clarified that we were their spouses and they were cheating, so security left their consequences up to us. They stepped aside to let us hash it out with them, but there wasn't much to say. I just stared at my wife and shook my head. I kept asking why she did this, but she just chalked it up to temptation she couldn't refuse. It hurt. I told her she wasted 11 years of our lives, but she said she didn't see it as a waste. I told her she was downplaying what she did. Our relationship was something I treasured and honored, but now it was a waste because it was over. I would have to start with someone new, someone I'd have to learn how to trust after she broke me. She started crying, but her wailing of regret didn't start until I told security that I voted for option C, which was to have her forced off the cruise ship at whatever port was next. It would be up to her to find a way home, and without me, she was going to be scared and uncomfortable. Susie bravely agreed with me, signing up her cheating spouse for the same fate. They were both yelling in protest as they were led away to their individual holding cells. Of course, since we were their spouses, we could get off at the next port with them, but we chose not to. We weren't lonely, though. Before they were kicked off, we gave them their luggage and passports. They were absolutely miserable. AP was just mad and walked off without so much as a goodbye to his betrayed wife, and gave no indication that he intended to stay with my wife, either. My wife was on her knees, holding onto my legs. She hated traveling, which is why we weren't on a road trip. Now she had to figure out how to get back, which could include a plane flight, her worst phobia. She got home a month after me. She had sunburn and said she had to do questionable things to get back. Now she owes her uncle $400 as well. I said she was welcome to get her pile of belongings out of my yard. I pulled off a tarp, covering all her things that I pulled out of the house. I told her she was lucky I didn't sell it all. She couldn't believe I still went through with the divorce, so I told her this was her reality check. She was not expecting to lose me on our 11th wedding anniversary, but maybe that's because she didn't think through what might happen and what she might deserve. OP, I am so sorry your wife left you for another man on your anniversary cruise. She should have been thankful and appreciative toward you for being a faithful man and partner to her all those years. Instead, she completely ruins the very thing you two were celebrating. She had to be very inconsiderate and selfish. She must have been willing to lie to you after this, to keep what she'd done a secret. She didn't plan on losing you, she planned on secretly betraying you, and she almost got away with it. Thank goodness for security and cameras. I'm proud of you for choosing to have her kicked off the boat. There's no way you deserve to have to share a room with her on your anniversary after she cheated. She deserved to face the struggle and insecurity, and you deserved a better spouse. Anyways, let's now get into our second story for today. My wife went out with her 3 best friends for her 25th birthday. We were married for 2 years, together for 4. Everything about our relationship was amazing. Our chemistry and care for each other seemed like it would last forever. I trusted her to go to the concert without me because it was her friend's treat, and I didn't want to impose. It was a heavy metal band, and they did not anticipate the shocking event that would occur. As soon as the music began and the group was about to come out, the crowd made a mad stampede for the stage. Rows 1 to 5 were jumped over, and people were climbed over. My wife was separated from her friends involuntarily, like being caught in a wave. When it got to where there couldn't fit any more people, my wife was at risk of being seriously injured. One strong security guy just happened to be right beside her, noticed her struggle, and succeeded in pulling her over the rib-high fence. They both continued helping people escape the pressure until 10 entire minutes after that, when the fence fell. There were severe injuries, so the concert was canceled. I saw a broadcast about it on the news and tried calling my wife over and over, but she wouldn't answer. I was starting to assume the worst and called one of her friends. This girl was upset, but not hurt, and said they got separated. She hadn't seen her, which I didn't take for a good sign. By the time the concert would have normally been over, my wife walked in the door. She was happy and calm. Sensing this unexpected demeanor, I let her emotion take the lead in our conversation. She started by greeting me happily. She said she had a great time, and she appreciates me for trusting her to go out with her friends. I felt the hair stand up on my neck. She was thanking me for trusting her, but she was pretending the concert happened, and she loved it. I was speechless. I said she was welcome, and she only ever proved to me that she deserved my trust and love. She just smiled faintly and yawned. I was super uncertain about how to behave in front of her. I was glad she was alive, but now I suspected her of cheating on me and thinking she could get away with it. After she went to bed, I tried to check her phone, but it was locked down and sealed tight. No message previews or anything. I decided I needed to confront her, so I woke her up, hoping her grogginess and panic would help me catch her in her lies. I told her I knew what happened and that there was no concert because of the overly aggressive crowd. I followed that up by quickly demanding she tell me where she was all that time I tried calling her. She said, a lot, and at first, just admitted a man helped her to safety. She elaborated on how much he saved her life, and then said they just hung out afterwards. I told her I wasn't an idiot, and asked if he expected something extra special in exchange for saving her life. I saw her wheels turning, and after a moment, she worked up some fake tears and said he took advantage of her. I immediately said if that was true, she needed to give me her unlocked phone so I could search it and then call the police on AP. She turned red and said no. She said I didn't need to go that far. I asked in pretend shock why I shouldn't, if AP just did what she said. She reluctantly gave me her phone, unlocked. I was staring at her, so she didn't try to look at her newest message. I could tell she was holding her breath as I read. It was from someone programmed as Maddie, but based on the context, I could tell for sure that Maddie was a man, and my wife was a willing participant in what they did just a few hours earlier. I showed it to her and asked what excuse she had for it. She was stumped. She started real crying, and it was quite a difference. She changed tactics and started begging me to forgive her. I just laughed, and I verbally expressed my anger and disappointment. I said I wished I never met her, and she was a waste of time and space. I informed her that she didn't need to spread her legs just because he saved her. It was just luck and a genuine thank you. Maybe a gift card would have been fine, but now our relationship is over. She didn't have anything useful to say, and she wouldn't matter to me ever again, so I kicked her out around 2 a.m. She was cold, miserable, and desperate. Trying to avoid bringing her parents into it, she called AP. He did not want her to come back over, and to avoid the awkward reasoning of why, he hung up. I was laughing through the cracked window. She caved pretty quickly and called her parents. She didn't even have her own car, which meant AP gave her a ride home that night, and she counted on her father to come get her after I found out. He had to work at 5 a.m. and made her feel worse about not being able to patch things up with me for the night or ever. Little did he know she was about to become his dependent again for the next 2 years. I don't know what happened after that, but I was lucky to find a respectable woman that hasn't failed me yet. I'm thankful I didn't spend more time with my ex before this happened. OP, your wife was supposed to have a fun night with her friends, but when that became interrupted, she decided to cheat on you. I am shocked that she couldn't have been more thoughtful about just how despicable this choice would be. That man saving her did not make you less deserving of a moral and honest wife, and that's what she failed to consider. She only thought about herself and believed you would never find out. She deserved to be cold, miserable, and desperate because she dishonored the man she committed herself to. Warmth, happiness, and security are for the loyal, trustworthy wives. I am so glad you saw the news report and paid attention to her behavior. You refused to forgive or keep her, and acted as an example for us all to follow when or if we are faced with an unfaithful spouse. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care.